Hey guys, how is it going? Hopefully you guys are having an amazing Wednesday. I'm living in the flow of life right now. So just finished up with a paleontology study with my kids, and now we're going to talk plexus. So I jotted down a few things and I was just praying about what to share with everybody. And I really appreciate Genevieve always saying that she's into action-based coaching, meaning she always wants there to be action taken from a call that she hosts. And so I have a couple things on my brain. I guess I just thought like I'll share what I'm working on, what I'm learning, and we can discuss. So I would love for you guys to pop in the chat. I did pop in our chat thread that I have with the ones that are hosting this, and just ask what your intentions are to close out the month. So I would love it if you guys could pop in the chat and just share your 1 to 3 intentions for this week. We're basically in Magic Week, right? End of the month. I love breaking down the month into chunks, like first 10, second 10, third 10, and just having like a real systematic approach. Now, I'm not the best at always being amazing at that, but in my brain, it helps me just kind of chunk down the month instead of like floating. And then all of a sudden in the last week, like pedal to the metal and you burn yourself out the last week and then take 3 weeks to recover. And it's this vicious cycle. So like having a more methodical approach to our businesses. So if I'm just going to share kind of like where my brain space is at, and hopefully it helps some of you or all of you. Maybe there'll be a little nugget that you can take away with. Okay, so one thing that so pop in the chat with your intentions. I will read from the chat what Jordan, Joanna, and Andrea said. So create a silver, get on as many one-on-one work sessions as I can, read my Bible every day. Love it. November calendar, create November health challenge, get 6 people onto an opportunity call for Thursday. And then another one is create a silver from opportunity event this Thursday, sign 3, get 5 people in an opportunity event and 5 on gut health event, read personal development book before bed, post intentionally, send specific messages, get November calendar done and squared away. Love it, love it. So I feel like as leaders, we have like these different things that we're working on, right? And one thing that we host a Tuesday call about the products and health testimony, and then there's a Thursday call about the business. So we have that rhythm going, and it seems to be working. We went back to what did we do in 2020? Like we had our highest paychecks, we had the most momentum. So let's do what we once did and see if we can get the same results. And so we went back to that simplicity of 2 opportunity calls per week. We're funneling people in. And that way, even for the part-timers on our team, it makes it super simple to plug into Tuesday call, plug into Thursday call, reach out, follow up, all the things. And so I guess I was just thinking, and this is a Genevieve quote also, but like that is the work, is getting people onto the call and then following up with them and then helping them make a decision, make a choice, right? But one thing I just wanted to say, okay, so yes, pop in the chat what your one intention is. Help 3. Can you repeat that 10, 10, 10? Oh yeah, just chunking down the month into thirds, like the first 10 days of the month, second 10 days of the month, and the third 10 days of the month. And I know I actually have like posts for each 10 days. You can go snag it off of my business page if you want. I think it's a good reminder to repeat with our teams and teach them not to work haphazardly, but to lead by example in that. And then also teach it so that we can teach how to healthily do this business, not just coast until, oh yeah, hey, I'm close to a goal, or hey, I really want to sign 6 people this month. And then you work like a crazy person, put yourself into adrenal fatigue, and it's not this fun thing that we want it to be. So just working intentionally throughout the month is key. Okay, so yes, yay. Everyone's putting their intentions on. And I think it's really important for us as leaders to be intentional about what our intentions are. We can call them goals, intentions, whatever, because we are leading by example in that with our team. And I think like we've chatted about in the past couple of calls, that it's kind of easy to get into management mode because there's a lot of things that we do that are kind of managerial. They're not necessarily going to like massively grow our business. And so I go back to the John Maxwell, do, delete, or delegate. And there's times when sometimes I've had to take a step back and then just look at, okay, what needs to be done? What are the highest level activities that I can be doing that are going to move the needle forward the most? So do delete. What can I delete? But it doesn't really matter. Or most importantly, delegate. So don't be afraid at this stage of the game. All of us need to be delegating in our homes, with our chore lists, inviting the family team to be taking part of more things so that we can move some things off of our plate so that we can be as intentional as possible in our businesses. And same way goes for business type things. If we can pay somebody to do 80% as good of a job as us, or delegate to teammates that are game for taking some projects on, we need to do it and not try to do it all because that makes us less effective on the most important things when we're just running around trying to do all the things all the time. So one thing I wanted to talk about is outside of like monthly, well, it is a monthly perspective. So the chunking it down into thirds, but then also keeping our eyes on big picture and also detail picture. So we're looking at the macro and the micro approach to our business. And I think it's something to be, I don't know, cognizant of, because I feel like this business, I don't know about you all, but I feel like it takes a brain space. Like I almost spend more time thinking about my business, or I can, than I do to actually get things done. And I think it's a shift sometimes that comes at different times for people, but especially as we're like looking to grow team, grow organization, like thinking through like what is going well, what could we beef up, what do we need to pivot on, is this still working? Those types of questions are really healthy to be asking ourselves. And I think it's that take a step back so that we don't get lost in the forest. It's kind of like sometimes with child training, Dustin would come in from work and like, I don't even notice that the 2-year-old is totally disobeying what I'm saying. It's like, you can't see the forest for the trees because like you're making dinner and you're nursing a baby and and you've given an instruction to somebody and they're not paying attention. So it takes almost an outside source to come in and be like, hey babe, you just asked him to do that and he's not obeying you in the least. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like my brain is so chock full. So I think it's important as leaders to take time to step back and evaluate. So big picture things would be like looking at your big goal, like what's your next big rank up goal? I think maybe on this call, re-rank Emerald, or maybe it's go Sapphire, and we're looking, or maybe it's re-rank Diamond, or hit re-entry, or whatever. So maybe we're looking at like doubling the size of our team. So going from 1,500 to 3,000, or 4,500 to 6,000, or whatever the numbers look like, right? So big picture would be like those big goals. I think also another big picture item would be like leadership. Taking a leadership evaluation, like how am I doing? How am I leading? Am I showing my team what I'm doing? And are others following? I think that's something that I'm trying to work on, is like Jessica Heffley always says, do the what I'm doing today, hashtag what I'm doing, or hashtag what I'm saying. And it's super easy to just pop in the chat, like show them what you're doing. Maybe not everything, but show them like one thing that you're doing that they could go do. I know when Jessica would pop in and be like, hey, I just sent this message to 10 people. I'm like, okay, boom, I'm gonna go do it. All right. And so I think making it very simple for people to follow what we're doing is really key. So taking a leadership evaluation, are others following? And like Genevieve said, this is the work, getting people on the calls, right? And so that is work that we're doing. It's even duplicative work when we're tapping in and asking, hey, how many people do you have come into our opportunity call tonight? Like assuming that they already have 10 people invited, or have had 5 people say yes, or whatever. And in all reality, probably I haven't invited anybody yet, right? But we're using that leadership, like we're inspiring them to take action by asking a curious question that is assumptive of they've already taken the action, right? So evaluating leadership thing. Another big picture item would be like Jordan had us do on the first 2 calls, looking at points. I think looking at points is really important, and maybe it's something that we avoid because we're like, they're not where I want them to be. And so it feels like this massive pot of discouragement because you're like, we know what's happening, or you see maybe your big picture overview month to month, and you're going, whoa, my success curve is not doing the kind of, it's not taking the trajectory that I want it to. And so I think taking a look at the points and asking why, like, why are they not growing, or why are they stagnant, or why are they shifting kind of backwards? The thinking space that this business takes, especially at jewel level and above, I think is large. So don't be afraid of that. Take time to evaluate. Have a third party come in and evaluate. Do those calls with your RSM. I don't know if y'all do those, but I've been trying to do them monthly with my guy is Chris Smith, and he just basically does like a big picture overview, key metrics based on numbers. And so he doesn't necessarily tell me anything I don't know, but it's helpful to see it in like black and white numbers. And also to hear someone verbalize the strengths and weak points in the organization, because then we can take measures to fix things. Okay, so one thing I thought was really interesting on the first call, and my Jules and I discussed it, is, okay, so if you have a piece of paper, write down where your points are currently, or maybe like where they ended last month. So write that number down. And then I think the assignment was, now take that number and double it and write that down on your paper. Okay, so you might have to use your calculator to get like exact. But it was really interesting because my Jules and I meet on Monday mornings at 6:30 in the morning. And it was interesting to hear the different perspectives. One person, when they did that exercise or even just thought through it, was like, the thought and the feelings that come to my mind are overwhelming and I can't manage that, or that feels insurmountable. Like I wouldn't be able to take care of all that. Like if I'm looking at, 2,000 points becoming 4,000 points. And that was stressful to her, even just looking at the numbers. And so this is why I think that exercise was brilliant, Jordan, or whoever did that or had us do that, because it helps us vision cast for ourselves. And we can pre-think through the feelings and the thoughts and discuss what might be coming up. The other thing I thought was interesting, that another Jewel on my team said when she looked at those numbers and she doubled hers, she was like, oh my God, yay, let's go. She was like super excited. She's like, because to me, that means that my team is duplicating and that I have other leaders working with me. And I think, so we discussed through this. It was really interesting. So pop in the chat. I would love to hear like what your thoughts and feelings are in light of those numbers when you see them, because I think it's really important for us in order to be able to hit a goal. We have to be able to see ourselves at that goal and feel the feelings, feel the thoughts, or evaluate like, why does that feel stressful? Or why does that feel like a higher capacity type thing that you don't feel like you could steward? We need to talk about that now, because if we're planning to be there eventually, then it's important to recognize that. And one thing that I thought was so interesting is one girl was like, okay, when my points are doubled, that will mean that I have leaders on my team. And the other girl was like, whoa, she was really putting herself in the shoe of, okay, basically the past however many years it's taken me to get this many points, it's going to take me, I don't know if she was actually thinking this, but maybe she was thinking along the lines of, wow, it's going to take me that many more years to get those numbers again, and it's going to be all on me, right? So I'm curious, feel free to unmute if any of you are resonating with this. Definitely exciting to have business in motion again. Ooh, yeah, high performance habits, where he addresses concerns of fear of being able to take on more in the business. Yeah, where are your points, and then double your points, and what thoughts come to mind? Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And when I think back to when I had 2,000 points and where my points are at now, I don't feel like it's taking more capacity or brain space necessarily. I mean, in some ways, my team has changed, but changed for the better. Like leaders have grown bigger teams. There are more people. Yes, I've continued to help more wholesale people, but I don't feel like my team has grown to the point of me not being able to manage it. And I keep practicing this thought: where God gives the calling, he gives the capacity. Where God gives the calling, he gives the capacity. And sometimes we have to shift how we are doing things now in order to make room for more capacity. And I'll just tell a quick story. Oh, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I was in this funk. I was Diamond, and it was before I had Abigail. Okay, so it was before 2020. 2020 was like our biggest year to date so far. And so this would have been probably in 2019. And before I had hired an assistant. So I was kind of like in this frustration point in my business where I was just feeling overwhelmed and like, I can't keep up with like life, homeschooling, kids, business. Like, how do I manage it all? How do I keep up? And so that was code for I needed to delegate more. So I ended up hiring an assistant to do tasks that I didn't love to do or that anybody could do so that I can concentrate on the most important things, right? Recruiting, coaching people, recruiting for the people for the business, and teaching how to work this business, right? And so I remember hearing Brooke Hemingway say, actually, it was a one-liner that like completely shifted my brain space. She's like, I'm not done helping people yet. And so I was in the space of like, how do I help more people if I already feel like I'm not taking good care of the people that I already have? And so that I'm not done helping people yet. I'm like, okay, I'm not either. And so I think I had this feeling of like, I still have to like talk to all these customers that I have. But you know what? In reality, a project broadcast can take care of that. And my assistant takes care of that. And if they need me, I'm here. Like they can reach out at any time. We have a team page. There's so many resources for them to plug into. And so that thought really opened up, I think, that next year of abundance for me and helped me hold or be able to step into abundance. And actually that year I had another baby. We have 7 kids. So it's so interesting how like one little shift can make such a difference. And I don't know, open up things. I don't know how that all works, but sometimes it's just that trust factor of where God gives the calling, he can give the capacity for it. And so maybe that means that we need to do a little more doing, deleting, or delegating. So whatever this is meaning for you, be writing some things down because things may be popping to mind that you need to take action on as I'm sharing. Another quick story I'll share is I got stalled out at 2,000 points. So I was like kind of solidly emerald. And I remember Jessica Heffley, so this would have been like January of whatever the year was, 2018, I think. And no, it would have been 17, I think, 17. And Jessica Heffley said, if you want to rank up this year, she's like, you have got to recruit at least 10 people by March. And this was January. And so in my brain, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to play a little game with my brain and I'm going to pretend that I don't have a team. Okay. I'm going to be super thankful for these 2,000 points that I have. They're amazing. My team's awesome, but I'm going to pretend I'm at 0 and I'm going to pretend I'm a brand new ambassador. What am I going to do? First thing I'm going to do is go silver. And so that's what I did. I decided I was going to recruit 10 people a month and like restart a fresh team. And so it's that Eric Worre idea. If you guys have ever done that or are familiar with that concept, it's the recruit 20 people in 30 days idea. But when I have like over the course of my Plexus career, there's been a couple times that I have really set time and intention and the business, I've set that intention to basically recruit a new team. And the people that come from that intention, it's so interesting. That's when business builders have popped up for me. Maybe not from those 10 people that I recruited, but it's like Sally Sue that's been on my team for 2 years, all of a sudden is like, hey, I'm not ready to work this business. I have had so many people do that. Now, I'm not saying put all your eggs in one basket and only concentrate on your current team, but it is interesting how there's a different, I don't know what to call it, a different energy when you say, okay, I'm going to build something new and build on top of what I've built or what has been built, right? Obviously, it's not just us, it's whole team building, but still. So I don't know if that helps some of you, but there's been times in my business where I've just felt like it's like flatlined. And so, but it takes it takes a decision and then an act of momentum and energy that comes from within us to create something different. So I just want to encourage you with that. So in light of big picture encouragement, I want to encourage you with a couple of things that have been very impactful in the past 8.5 years. And so this is big picture. We're talking big picture still. Praying over your business. I know it's maybe sounds cliche, but I've had people on my team come back to me and say, hey, I've given lip service to praying over my business, but when I truly pray and like pray in faith, believing that God's going to bless the work of my hands, that he's going to magnify the hours of my day, that he is going to bring the people that need these products in this business and put people on my brain that need these products in this business. Those 4 prayers specifically have been how our Plexus business has grown. And I actually have scriptures like taped to my wall in front of my desk of specific scriptures. So 2 Peter 1:3, he has given us all things has given all things that pertain to life and godliness. Okay. So then that includes business. I've had people actually come to me asking for perspective on that. They're like, so I should invite God to be part of this? I'm like, yes, 100%, 1,000% yes. I would totally invite God, the creator of heaven and earth, to be part of this. Like, we are on earth as ambassadors for his purposes and glory. And like, we are in this season, in this industry, in Plexus, in network marketing, for a specific reason larger than us, right? And I would just encourage all of us to I don't know, re-inspire ourselves to ask the Lord, and not to try to do it in our own strength, right? Otherwise it's just striving and it's stressful. And so when you have that level of faith and trust that God's helping, we're asking the Lord to help us, we're partnering up with him and not trying to do it in our own strength. Another scripture is 2 Corinthians 9:8. God is able to make all grace abound to you, having all sufficiency in all things, that you may abound to every good work. 2 Corinthians 12:9. He said unto me, my grace is sufficient for you. That's been my mom verse, my life verse, the past 18 years of raising and having babies. Proverbs 3:5 and 6, which basically says we're not going to trust in ourselves, but we're going to actually ask the Lord to we're going to acknowledge him, and he's going to help direct our steps. And then my very, very favorite verse is in Psalm 90, 16 and 17. Let me just grab it really fast. It's on the back of the sheet. It's basically a scripture that says, let your work appear unto your servants, and your glory unto their children. Let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish thou the work of our hands. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. And so, and then Psalm 71:16. Those are scriptures that you can hang your hat on. You can hang your business hat on, because without his help, without divine intervention, this is just my personal belief, is that, not that it's for naught, but we can be spinning our wheels, right? And we don't want to do that. And so I would just challenge you guys to ask the Lord, to invite the Lord to be to be partnered up with you in this, because he will. Okay. And then small picture, we'll talk about the micro real quick before we hop off, is Magic Week. Okay. So we have our big picture, right? And then we have our detail perspective. Like, okay, we're going to break the goal down into something smaller. And so I heard Genevieve on the sprints call today, I listened to a recording, is what is your team goal to help you get your growth goal? So you need to, if you don't know what that is, you need to write it down and just really be specific, because I think if we're not specific on our numbers, we're kind of just shooting at the air. Like, well, whatever happens, happens, versus being intentional and specific. And I'll just show you, I don't know if you all do this, but I've shown my jewels, like I have to get my brain on paper. Otherwise, like I'm kind of like squirrely brain. And so this is my Operation Emerald for reentry, but I have like my heavy hitter key people, right? And then I have some people that have expressed some interest in, sharing. And so I'm working through the PLP or PLLP with each of them. That is basically my little mental system of help them make a post, help them make a list, or have them make a list, send me the picture when they get it done, like that accountability back and forth, right? They go live, or they go live within the party that I host. And typically once we've done those 3 or 4 things, they're silver. And if they're not, then we just keep kind of going over and over that, right? And then I have my other people that are dabbling. So getting the troops on paper or on a board is massively helpful. I also have a Post-it note system I think I've shared before, but I also have them on my desk, my little blue notes per month. Those are my recruits. So I don't have to even open up my back office to be like, okay, who have I not talked to in a while? What can I be chatting with them about? Maybe it's products, maybe it's like asking them if they're ready to share, kind of doing the little bounce back and forth, because we all message people and they don't follow, they don't message back. So we're like, how are they doing? What are they doing? And just keeping in contact. So that's that like smaller picture, micro, asking for the micro commitments from them, right? And so with Magic Week, I think during these calls, or any call that we pop on, it's an invitation to recalibrate. Like, okay, I need to get re-inspired for what I need to be doing. So from call to call, we're basically looking for an inspiration transfer, right? So that we can be specific and intentional with the actions that we're taking. So what are we doing to close the month strong? Because we have 8 days left. or whatever, however many days, a week left. And so I guess we kind of answered that. This is kind of full circle, but asking what are your intentions for this week? The very specific, those specific things, those specific actions are what's going to feed into the big picture sapphire goal or reentry or re-rank goal that we have. So I'll stop talking because maybe you guys have questions, or maybe there's some stuff in the chat. The last P, okay, so PLLP, post, list, live, and then party. That's my mental checklist for duplication. When people are like, yeah, I want to share. So that way I know what I'm going to do with them next. Okay, where's your thoughts? What are you thinking? What questions are popping up?
Well, I don't have a question, but I will say, as you were talking about, as leaders, we just are expected of more. Like, we have to use our brains more. We have to think more. We're doing the 21 laws with a group of my rubies and senior rubies, and we just read over the law of sacrifice together. And it was talking about when you have no responsibilities, you can do pretty much anything you want. Once you take on responsibility, you start to experience limitations in what you can do. The more responsibility you accept, the fewer options you have. And I read that and I was so convicted by that just based on what you were saying, because I see that as an honor. Like, I prayed for this. I prayed for this level of responsibility, and I'm grateful that I get to do that. I'm grateful that I get to think through that. I'm grateful that I have people showing up to a Zoom that want to be added value to, So anyway, when you were saying that, it just reminded me of the law of priority. And that's something that we prayed for. Like, that's something that we want, that we work for. So anyway, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. And not shy away from the responsibility of it and the stewardship piece. Because yeah, we're all busy, but